Oh, hello. My name is Rich, and this is Rich Talks Records. Except today I won't really be talking about records. As Lou Reed once put it, it's been a long time since I've spoken to you. So today will be a little bit of a special video. I thought I should do this instead of just jumping right back into doing what I would normally do. So this video it's been a little over a month since I made the last video, and this video is the Elephant, the cover band, and the way forward. So what does all of that mean, Rich? You might be asking, or you might have clicked off by now. Anyway, so the last month or two has been pretty frenetic with activity for me. There's been a lot of changes. I just got these glasses. This is the first hour I'm wearing my new glasses, so and they're bifocals now. Yes, I'm 46 and I now have bifocals. And the optometrist ophthalmologist who was like 28 or something was like apologetic about it, and I was like, no, it means I've survived this long. And she kind of laughed, but then kind of looked at me like, that's a weird thing to say. And I'm like, well, so it was touch and go for a few years there. So anyway, the point of this video is just to sort of explain where things have been and where things are going, and that I'm going to do something I had always thought that I wouldn't do, and I feel for whatever reason, I sort of feel like I owe an explanation. So I don't really, but I figure I would do one. So there you go. So the Elephant and the cover band, the business of that is many, many, many years ago. This is over a decade ago. There was a Prince podcast that I would listen to, and I am a very big Prince fan. And the people who hosted the podcast were always letting it be known that they themselves were artists, musicians. They could engineer their own recording sessions, all of that stuff. They were polymaths. They're both polymaths. And they always let that be known, and one of those people wound up being my great friend, Van Ark. And I actually reached out to Van because I loved what he did so much on the podcast that I just thought, like, I've got to talk to this guy. There's too much there. It's too interesting to me. And it has become a beautiful friendship that endures to this day, and I imagine will beyond, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't be recording all of this. So anyway, and he would sometimes do special episodes of the podcast, which would be these really cool, basically like DJ sets that I thought was really imaginative, really interesting, but it was always under the guise that they were special episodes, right? And it wasn't in the main body of the work. One of the other hosts, as the podcast continued, started, and they got a ton of positive feedback and a ton of likes and a ton of from the Prince fan community, and people were reaching out to them, etc., etc. One of the other hosts really, as time went by, seemed to think that the reason why they were getting attention was because of, in his case, his particular artistic pursuits. And thus we get to the cover band. The cover band that sneaks a few originals into their set. So you're showing up to hear faithful recreations of, I don't know, the Allman Brothers Band or something, and then they're putting some originals in there, and you're not, if they're good, or if there's only one or two, you'll abide by that, but eventually if the set of the cover band is basically all originals, or they open with Ramblin' Man and then just go into all of their originals, then they're not really a cover band anymore. And eventually, Van left the podcast, or the podcast was sort of shuttered. There were attempts to relaunch it, and it was exclusively about this group of musicians. And when they finally did do a Prince episode, there was a new co-host who, upon being told that about the phenomenon of Prince bootlegs and obsessiveness in Prince fandom, said, "I've never been into anybody like that." Which begged the question then, why the fuck am I listening to you? What is the point? At that moment, I turned off the podcast and I never listened ever again. So it's something that I have always been very sensitive to. They're one of the early YouTubers I initially watched a lot. And again, this is going back more than a decade. By the way, wow, these transition lenses, they're not transition, but progressive. No, it's progressive. Transitions are the ones that become sunglasses. This is weird. It's very, I feel like I'm on a boat. Good God, they said it was going to be a period of adjustment, but Christ, am I nauseous. Anyway, just so you know, that's how I'm currently feeling right now. Anyway, so, but one of the first YouTubers that I ever watched who did record reviews, and who I really liked, partially because he was so calm. That's actually what I responded to, was, I was in a not calm period of my life, and I found him very dulcetly, calmly walking through the differences in the various Pink Floyd box sets released over the last few years. I loved all of that, right? Jump forward a year or so, and the guy is complaining that nobody bought his album, that he doesn't get enough likes, that he doesn't, and that's a thing that I have seen in the vinyl community then. People complaining that they don't get enough likes, that they don't have enough subscribers, that they didn't get enough views, and it will be somebody with like 5,000 average of 5,000 views on their videos, and I'm like, and they'll say, for the few of you out there, and they're like rueful about it, and they're angry with the audience, right? And the one YouTuber from way back when, I just remember him looking into the camera and saying, "Where is the love?" Right? And is there anything more unbecoming than a middle-aged man talking into a camera angrily because not enough of you are paying attention, especially when it comes to the album that he's flogging, right? Again, we're not here, like, we're showing up to see the cover band to hear the songs of the band that you're covering. Like, I'm sorry, that's the fucking way the world works, There are some people who weave it in more skillfully. And so, for instance, there were the three big people that I mentioned in my 100 subscriber special, and Giggins does a great job of it, because first of all, he's not beating you over the head of listen to the Airedales, or any of his stuff. It's woven into his aesthetic when he does the Beach Boys thing, interstitial music, it's woven in very skillfully, and he's not beating you over the head, and then he's not complaining if not enough people liked it, right? So I feel like Giggins is the guy who split the atom in that sense and figured out how to do it, right? And do it gracefully, but also within his overall aesthetic. The other person who I think has done a good job, because he's very upfront about wanting attention for the album that he made, and I have a lot of respect for the sort of bluntness of it. And then he moves along and goes on to his regular content, and that's of course Bill's Box of Sound. He made a record called Be. At some point I actually will pick it up, but there's a lot of records out there in the world. So I just haven't gotten around to that one, but I sampled it and I think it's cool. So I think it's legitimately actually cool. So you get points for being legitimately actually cool. Also, this YouTuber from way back when, who shall remain nameless, actually did fucking videos where he did responses to negative reviews of his work on Apple Music or whatever it was. Jesus Christ. What the fuck? And why do you think people are showing up to hear you talk about, if they should get this, whatever, reissue, this David Bowie reissue or something? That's why they're showing up. And don't have any illusions about that, And then that brings us to the third person, the one and only, the great Eddie Canistracci. And, he has mentioned his career, and he has mentioned things out of his life here and there, but mostly he talks about it in terms of his relationship to the music that he's actually reviewing, or the bands that he's doing a retrospective of. And I have always had the utmost respect for how he does things, because when he put up a video of his old band, he just dropped it. He dropped it like he would drop any other video. And I thought that was really, really cool. He did it in the coolest way possible. And if you wanted to check it out, awesome. If you didn't, awesome. He didn't make a thing out of it, and it was cool. And he's a cool guy. So he did that in a cool way. And it doesn't clash with anything else, and he's not moaning, and there's not this sort of strange holdout where he's going to try to elbow in his stuff at the expense of what you're actually showing up for, right? So that's the cover band. The elephant in the room is the reason I haven't made a video for such a long time is because I've was working on a project. The project is now long past. Not long past, but past enough. Also, I've just had crazy work stuff going on, So, at any rate, and, life in general, right? I got these glasses, for instance. By the way, I will say, I have been putting off going to see an ophthalmologist for about 6 years because I was very afraid of what they would say. And it actually took a lot for me to face that fear. And it actually took a lot for me to see, because they show you the eye scans and here's what's happening and, all of that. And I truly dreaded that. I put that off literally for years. And I had changed doctors about a year ago or something. And the new doctor is very patient with me, was like, you've got to go get your eyes checked. Stop screwing around. And I was like, okay. But it still took me another year to actually go do it. So I have to say, I'm proud of myself that I faced that fear, because that was something that really, really was bugging me. And it was kind of always in the back of my mind, you're going to have to go do that. The old glasses that I had, the ones with the Nike thing, I didn't buy it because I didn't get those because I was so enamored with Nike. I got those just after I'd gotten out of the hospital, and I needed new glasses urgently. And that was what's the, not Lens Crafters, but what's the Pearl, the ones that do it in about an hour. That was the lone pair they had that was okay, vaguely okay looking, even though they had these stupid Nike logos on the side. So it wasn't because I was stumping for Nike or because I get some sort of kickback. But then it becomes this other weird thing of, no, I'm going to wear these because because the Nike logo is so stupid. When I was in high school, I had these glasses. It was my second pair of glasses, and I wore them till they really started falling apart. And I was and I mean, this is the alt-rock grunge era anyway, and I was so anti-fashion, and there were people who paid so much attention to fashion that one day, and these glasses were falling apart, that and the screw had lost its are they called tines? I just took a paperclip. I was in physics class, I remember this distinctly, and I took this paperclip and straightened it out and shoved it through the hole and like wound it around, and then just left it there with like the end of it poking out. And I wore my glasses like that for like another year, as just purely like a I don't give a fuck like like piece of sort of not like performance art, but just a yes, I know this looks stupid. Oh well, what you gonna do about it, right? It was I had a lot of that in me as a young man. So anyway, I didn't mean for this fucking video to be about glasses. Anyway, to get back on track, so I'm 46 years old. So this is where we get to the elephant, I guess. So the elephant in the room, right? I have, and I've alluded to it here and there, I have a robust creative life. And I started, when I graduated grade school, I asked for a camcorder so I could start making experimental movies. That's what I wanted to do, right? I've been doing writing since just after, or right around the time I turned 13 is when I started writing. I do some sort of experimental music somehow. I've been doing a lot for a very long time. It is the like defining feature of my life, right? And kind of everything is built around that. And for a long time, my listening to music and obsession with music and obsession with films and books and everything was intertwined with that. And at some point in my life, I needed to, how do I put this? I needed to stop being so interested in other people's languaging and further develop my own aesthetics and my own concepts, right? And because I'm already influenced by the things I'm influenced by, it already is a big enough of a deal. So I really pulled away, because I would pursue music listening, for instance, as doggedly and as intensely as I would pursue my own writing and making films and stuff, right? It was both obsessions at once. And at some point, especially during what I call the divorce period, I had to think about my own creative work first. That had to take precedent, and that had to be more important for me, because that was coming from me. And it was I don't mean that as about catharsis. It wasn't about like, oh, I had to get things off my chest. It wasn't about that. It was really about this is what I am and this is what I do, which when you are clinging to any sort of raft, you need something, and you need to start to define yourself. And I had always gone out of my way not to define myself, right? And I had spent decades running away from any sort of self-definition. And when I started seeing my therapist, she really would push, and she would say, well, what are like your core values? Like, what are your beliefs? What do you think about things? And, she would really challenge me on that. And my initial thing I would just say, well, I'm not a person. I don't exist. Because that's really how I felt. I felt like some sort of like ghost version of like fucking Patrick Bateman or something. I felt like wrong and empty. And, she, like I said, she really pushed me, and so like the very first thing were like really simple and really kind of lame and almost too embarrassing to say, like, well, like racism is bad. I mean, like I had to come up with these like like super like day one building block things, like, well, I guess I believe this, like war is bad, like just shit like that, right? But eventually that has really, really developed. And out of that, this sense of I need to develop my own sense of languaging. And I already had that, and I already had done that, but it was very, very wrapped up in my interests in other people's work. A funny thing, and I've talked about it in the one Tim Buckley video, where I talked about Twin Peaks a lot. Funnily enough, some of it came to a head with that season 3 of Twin Peaks, because I found myself starting to like put in obscure Twin Peaks references into my work, right? And I'm like, well, this isn't mine. Like this, like, why am I doing this? This isn't, and it's not like you're like alluding to you're not like alluding to like esoteric writing. You're not alluding to Nietzsche. You're not alluding to, like, you're not drawing off the history or the tradition of like romantic poets or the beats or something like that. Like, you're just drawing from like a contemporary show that still sort of isn't old enough or been around long enough to start to connect tendrils to all of these other things. There are some, like with the transcendental meditation and whatnot, but it's still like you're still you it's low-hanging fruit at this point to be throwing in obtuse Twin Peaks references. That doesn't make your art better, right? And even back in the 90s, that was something I was sensitive to. Like if somebody named, like, a referenced Ornette Coleman or something in a poem, and they were doing a reading, and there were like four poems. The Ornette Coleman poem would be everybody's favorite. Like, people would like nod, like, yeah, I get that reference, you know? And so that's something, again, that's something like I was sensitive to that then. It's not that you have a better poem, it's that they're identifying with some other aspect of it, right? And I understand that in some ways, in the moment, and it's fair play to the audience, that they get that there's a reference and that they can connect to that reference quickly in the moment, and they're hearing this stuff for the first time. It's different than sitting and reading it. I get that, but I dare say my point still stands, that the other stuff would almost be ignored at the expense of the reference that everybody understood, right? So anyway, all of this is that's one of the reasons why I don't talk too much about a lot of contemporary music, because, and there are many, many reasons why I film the videos the way that I do. One of the reasons I don't get too cinematic, or one of the reasons I don't do too much editing, or, you know, cut things down, or even like try to make things more viewer friendly, is because this to me is separate from my work. This is something I enjoy doing. This is something that is fun to do. And in some cases, like the pill videos, for instance, or the Black Flag videos, I do have a certain sense of mission to sort of create the document that potentially could live on about this band, right? And why this music is so important and why it's so compelling, right? So there is a little bit of a sense of mission involved. And like the same thing with the Tim Buckley videos, like, this is important. I feel very strongly about this. Or contextualizing the way I contextualize the Rolling Stones or something like that, whatever. So it's a sense of mission and it's fun. But I also try to get these out in and out really quick, and I really do try not to overthink them. Whereas, you know, I can work. So I have self-published since 1995. My mom, God bless her, published, if you will, my first collection of writing on breaks at work on the office Xerox machine. God bless her. I think she made 6 copies. So since that, so that was the first one in 1995. I have done 62, and I've made a whole raft of short experimental films. My major ambitious films have largely have never been brought to a point of completion. I have actually spent more time working on films than you would know by having watched them. because a lot of them, there are still several that are just sitting in pieces on an external hard drive, and they will, at this point, literally never be connected. And then I had a weird data breach thing at the beginning of 2023, and some film stuff unfortunately got lost. So I like some of the wider ranging things, some of which took literally years to make. Just no one's ever going to see, and I have to be at peace with that. So, in particular with that one, not only is some of the footage I'm pretty sure lost, I keep thinking I'm going to try and do one more retrieval effort. We'll see, but even so, there were scenes I was going to film with somebody who's now dead, so it can never be finished anyway. So yeah, that's kind of the main focus of my life. And I have always made it a point to not talk about that or just sort of allude to it here and there, because the cover band, and you're not here to for the cover band's originals, and I want to respect that, and I want to honor that, and there's something about the social contract of that I don't want to screw around with, right? So I've gone out of my way to keep these things separate, and I still think I do want to keep them separate, other than to say, the reason I haven't made a video for the past month is I was working on a really special project that we streamed live on the 4th of July on Van's Facebook page. And I worked really, really hard on it, and Van did music for it. I believe very strongly in Van's music. Van, and I've linked to his Bandcamp page before, but I liked Van's music before I ever knew Van, right? So that's the real litmus test. I chose to listen to his music voluntarily before checking anything else out, or before I got to know him personally. So at any rate, Van did, it's Van's page, and it's a really cool page. There's a lot of cool stuff on it, and I believe in what we did. It's a collaborative effort. I mean, I did the bulk of it. It is what it is. But that's not to diminish. Van has a friend, an Italian guitarist, Italian as in it lives in Italy, named Piero D'Agostino, who makes really beautiful, lovely guitar music, guitar instrumentals, and then Van's good friend C. Keys, who's a rapper, who's an excellent rapper, who again I listen to voluntarily. So also, and Van and Keys have done music together. So they've done some really, really cool stuff. So and then I did filming, and I did assembling a lot of found footage and putting still images in, and I worked really, really hard on this. It's sort of a mock variety show, it's sort of a riff on old Jerry Lewis telethon stuff, variety shows, holiday specials like the old Bob Hope specials, and we streamed it live, but the video is still up there. I mean, it's archived, so it's on the video page, and I will link to that. And it was called Fate of the Nation. So, and it's basically in 3 acts. There's like fake commercial breaks, like it's presented as if it's a television show. And then, fortunately enough, this is pretty amazing. Speaking of Eddie Canistracci, I got him to agree to participate as well. So he did a segment that was absolutely amazing. He read Michael Madsen poems, and that was incredible. So he's in it. Van's in it. I'm in it at the end as myself. And it's just I believe in it, and I think it's a cool piece of work. There's no charge. It's just streaming on. You don't need a Facebook account to see it. Anybody can watch it. So, so that is one of the few times I am ever going to do anything like this, because I just, I really struggle with the sort of, I don't know, the sort of the self-promotion thing, and the business of the cover band. You know, that's not what you're here for. On the other hand, I think it's pretty cool, and I think it turned out really cool, and I think it's worth it. Damn it. And you know, years ago, I regularly do readings. There's this open mic that I've been doing readings at for years, and the guy who puts it on is always encouraging people to promote their stuff, right? And some of the people who show up there, they're part of all these different like songwriters groups, and they're super slick, and they've got their fucking Bandcamp and their Discogs page, and they're super slick with stuff. And so I never have anything like, and I just sort of bumble through that if I'm put on the spot to say anything. And so a couple of years ago, I actually had, I think it was just before COVID, I actually had business cards made. And I thought it would be hysterical if I showed up with business cards and handed out business cards like as like a joke. And that's like the only way that I can do that is to like make like a joke out of it. Van has tried to get me to do like a bio, have a bio page on his website for years, and I've never gotten past the first paragraph. I just don't like have it in. The only way I can do it is to like make fun of it or make a joke out of it. And like one time I read, I'm a big Vincent Gallo fan, and I read Vincent Gallo's bio, which if you've ever read that is fucking nuts, and in a good way. But it's basically just like this like screed about everyone who has wronged him, and it's so over the top, and you know, and just totally like amazing, but like very bristling with fucking anger. And you know, it's like, well, and because I'm sure I dare say that's probably the only way that he could get it written, because I don't think he sort of has it in him. You know, when he would go on television, he'd put on the USA Olympic tracksuit outfit, because like I understand that. I understand, you know, Nirvana opening the Live Tonight Sold Out video with the making fun of the behind every rock band. That I remember when that commercial was on television, and that they ported in this commercial and then like make fun of it and put their own name over it. Like that, I get that. You know, I get that. So anyway, so all of that. I say all of that I'm not selling a bill of goods, and I'm not going to wag my finger at you if you don't go and check it out. But I think it's worth checking out. I think it's really cool. And then it's certainly worth watching for Eddie. So you can watch it for that. And Van's certainly worth it, and Keys is worth it, and Piero's worth it. So I think it's worth checking out simply for that. So there you have it. Now, the way forward. I am working on the next video. I actually have lots of videos planned, as I usually do. And other than having to take a little bit of time here and there for some work stuff, and at some point we have a vacation planned, I feel like I'm going to be able to work pretty consistently through the rest of the year on these. Like I said, I really enjoy doing them. It's it's really nice for me and really fun. But that's what it's supposed to be, you know. And when I say fun, I still get a migraine over nearly every one. And I hemmed and hawed about doing this video for weeks. As you know, the 4th of July was a little bit ago now. So I still overthink these things and still drive myself to distraction, right? So, but the next video, I will just announce it here, is going to be I'm going to do Iggy Pop's Avenue B. I realized it's now been several months since I've done an Iggy video, so I was like, I kind of need to get to one. I was going to try and do that this weekend, but I thought I would do this instead. I thought I felt a need to not just jump back in. So, but I'm kind of doing all my research, Rich Talks Record style, for the Iggy video, and I think it's going to be really, really cool. I love that album, and I've been learning a lot about that era, because I never really knew that much about that era, other than just I bought the record when it came out. And beyond that, yeah, I have lots and lots and lots and lots of other ideas, and you know, I'll be mixing those in with sort of shorter, more fun videos like talking about music, movies, and stuff like that. But yeah, so I just wanted to kind of get this out And, if you want to check out Fate of the Nation, I think it's a lot of fun. And otherwise, yeah, I will see you. I'm going to try and get the next one out next weekend. So I will see you all soon enough. Thank you for watching this. And also, we have picked up more subscribers. So they just keep trickling in. So that's always really cool for me to see. And the fact that I've now gone so many weeks without making a video and there's still people watching, there's still people clicking is pretty cool. I don't care about how many thousands. I don't, that's not interesting to me. Actually, somebody actually giving a fuck is worth far more than the masses, and I was never interested particularly in the masses anyway, so that doesn't concern me. And not every channel has to be, like that. Leave the 60,000 views in an hour thing for, like, Justin Timberlake gets a DUI and, somebody has a fucking video clowning on him about it. Like, save that shit for other people. I don't give a fuck. I'd rather talk about the stuff that I actually care about and think about and that moves me and that is interesting to me. So, and I would imagine that's why you're here too. So anyway, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. If you feel so inclined, check out Fate of the Nation. I wouldn't fuck around with you with that. I think it's cool. And I will see you again soon enough. We'll be talking about Iggy. So, we all love Iggy. So we'll be back soon enough. So again, thank you all. Bye.